the Upfront Toronto podcast.
Hello and welcome to Upfront Toronto, conversations with people that move the city forward. In our conversation today, we're turning the tables a bit and we're going to interview Alon. But I first wanted to start with a introduction of
Hello, Liza, by the way.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, Alon. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Our pleasure. So Alon is the co-founder of what was Pita Break and is now Ozery Bakery with his father, ex-wife, and brother Guy. And what started as a small store in 1996.
Yes, 1996, February.
Yep. At Yonge and Wellesley, eventually grew into a wholesale business selling pita and crackers to small stores within Toronto. Eventually, you opened up a commercial bakery known for making pita, morning rounds, one buns, lavash crackers, and now the new keto super seed crunch, which is not only delicious but slightly addictive. As if that didn't keep you guys busy enough, you 3 years ago decided to open up Parallel Brothers with your brothers Guy and Aharon, and that's on Geary Avenue. And you specialize in sesame butter. And within that space, you have a restaurant component along with designated space, obviously, for manufacturing the sesame butter, which is also known as tahini. And then you also make halva, various sesame butter inspired foods. And if I'm not mistaken, the restaurant itself has sesame butter within all of the dishes. So I think I got it all. There's a little bit more, but if you want to just jump in and
Hi, thank you, Lisa. So yes, that covers pretty much the business history, and just as a snapshot of who we are or who I am. And thank you. I'll introduce Liza. Liza and I, first of all, we're cousins, and even though
we're not cousins,
we're cousins, and not only cousins, but we worked together for many years at the bakery, and we've traveled around North America to shows and have chased customers or consumers and buyers, and worked extensively on the bakery's branding and marketing. So we have a long history together. And we kind of got together at this time to create a podcast that is close to both our hearts. And I guess this is our way to introduce ourselves to you. Liza?
Yeah. I think you pretty much got it all. We do have a long history, and and it's been a lot of fun, and we thought we'd branch off and do something a little different. And that's where this podcast came up. So, and really this was your idea, Alon. You approached me with it and I immediately said no. And then realized that I would give it a little bit of thought, and then you
that's kind of my relationship with most people.
Just tell them what's going to happen.
It's funny how people change their answer after 10 questions, identical questions.
Questions, text messages, phone calls, voicemails.
A random visit, even if you live far away.
Like that. But I guess, well, is there anything you want to add to your intro? Is there anything I missed?
I think we're pretty close. So You'll be interviewing me today based on the same format as Upfront Toronto. And we're doing this interview just after the fact. We have about 6 recordings already with amazing entrepreneurs. Like, I can't believe that they've talked to us, how interesting they are. And, I learned so much from talking to people. So, but then we decided to do this one, which will be the first podcast, just to introduce ourselves, because it's who the fuck are these guys interviewing people, and why should I listen to them? I mean, I really don't know why you should listen to us, but hopefully the guests will be more interesting than our interviewing abilities, and
hopefully we'll get better.
I apologize for the first few, which we're not semi new to this. But we're definitely dedicated and getting better every interview. The guests were stellar from the first one, so I'm just brilliant.
Yeah, we've had some great guests, and it's been a lot of fun. It's been fun and interesting, and in some cases fascinating to hear people's stories and how they got there and why they continue doing what they're doing. So I guess I just want to start with asking you, Alon, is where did you come up with the idea for the podcast? Before we get into the format that we use for Upfront Toronto, where did you get the idea?
I wasn't ready for that question, Liza. That's a good question. So I took a year off. I took a sabbatical off of the bakery, and I wasn't that involved with Parallel. I was a little, but not in operations. And my brother and I, after working together for 25 years, agreed to take a year off. And I kind of raised my hand, and for some reason, he was happy that I'll take the year off, and he was happy to run the company, and I was happy to dabble in other things. So after, I'd say, 3 or 4 months of banging my head against the wall and figuring out what the hell, and this kind of coincided with COVID also, because it happened last March. Kind of podcasting, talking to interesting people fascinates me. I do that anyways, and I wanted to try this. It's funny because honestly, everybody and their sister has a podcast. It was like, it makes no sense, and it's not logical to add another podcast, but we decided to do it anyways. I'm happy Liza said yes, because I really enjoyed time with her, and so far our as I said, our guests were really, really interesting. So I think it will get more interesting, even if it can.
So when you say you were banging your head against the wall, why? Like, what prompts that? Because you've obviously been in the business for a really long time, and even prior to that, you worked. So was it the free time all of a sudden? Was it how was that transition?
I think it was free time. I really like to create. It's almost my hands shake as if when I'm not creating something and learning and doing something. When we have the bakery and things got into, I don't say monotonous rhythm, because it's never monotonous. It's always very, very active and dynamic. But still, the element of creation diminishes as a business grows. And I think that element was missing. So I part of this would be the podcast. I've written a book about, I guess, kind of a memoir. And again, who the hell wants to read a memoir about me? But I think it will be an interesting one. And kind of, yeah, just that the desire to create. So it's not almost why and who and logical. It's I want to create and do and meet people, and hopefully it sticks.
Gotcha. Okay. So we'll move into the format that we use for Upfront Toronto, which is a series of questions that's going to cover career, personal, city-related questions, and then a quick fire. And so we'll start with that.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay. So what was your first job?
Okay. So there are several. As a young kid, I really wanted money, and so one of the things was cleaning my parents' house for, I don't remember how much. Then I tried my friend wanted to sell his bicycle, and he was too shy to sell it. So I said, give it to me, I'm going to sell it for you. So I took his bike, and I went to the local bike fixer, Upper, and I think this was back in Israel. So it was, I think, I don't remember. He wanted 150 shekels. I said, okay, I'm going to charge 170 shekels. And I went over there and asked the guy if he wants to buy a bike. And at the time, I don't think that there was a lot of bike theft at the time. So long story short, one of the guys there heard me asking that, and he said, I want to. He said, how much? I said, 170 shekels. He said, okay. So he said, come back tomorrow. I'll have the money, bring the bike. That was easy. That was really easy.
Did you wonder why you didn't ask for more?
No, well, he's paying 170. So my friend was getting 150, and the 20 were for me.
Yeah.
So I said, that was easy, 20. So the next day came, and I walked over, and I was like, I don't know how young I was, maybe 14 or 13. I don't remember.
So what is shekels? Like, give for those of us that don't know, how much?
I don't remember, honestly.
Oh, okay. But did it feel like a lot to you at that age?
It was a lot. So yeah,
Okay.
if you think about maybe 150 shekel or $50. So maybe I could make $10 at the time for a 13-year-old that doesn't make money. That's sweet for no work. And then the guy came and I met him there, and I wasn't sure if he'll arrive, but he did. And he gives me the money and takes the bike, and I count the money. It's an 150 shekel. And I'm, excuse me, this is not what we agreed on. And he's, well, take it or leave it. I was shocked and unprepared.
Your first lesson in negotiation.
So I got, and I was at that point so shocked. And I promised my friend the money, and I said, like in my mind, because of the surprise, and I guess that's, I don't know, tactic or something. I said, okay, I mumbled, okay. And off he went, and I gave my friend the 150 shekels, and I was left with nothing other than a lesson. So
you were left with a good lesson.
I didn't learn much from that lesson. It takes usually more than one lesson for me. That was another job. And then when we arrived in Canada, I was 16, and the first job was actual job was being a dishwasher in a deli. So washing pots and pans and smelling like brisket when the evening ended. Yeah, it was a great turn on. The dogs would chase me on the way home. Yeah.
Okay. So where did you get the idea for the business? And I'm talking Ozery Bakery. I do want to get into Parallel Brothers as well, but let's start with Ozery Bakery.
Yeah. So Ozery Bakery. So I'm half Yemenite, Jewish, Israeli, and my Yemenite family was Orthodox, and our grandmother and aunt used to bake breads for the family in family gatherings on weekends and all. And I just loved that process of making bread. And I would stand there looking at them mixing the dough rising, and then them making round balls, and it rise again, and then they flatten it and put it in this kind of cool pan. And then you peek through a hole looking at the dough rising, and it's magical because pitas kind of rise up and become like a ball full of hot steam. And then everybody, once the smell kind of left the bowl or the baking pan, and everybody would be attracted to that kitchen area to taste fresh bread. And at times they'd put some za'atar and olive oil on it, or pizza or whatnot, and then it would be even better. And so I learned how to make dough and pita, and I really enjoyed that. And so that was also a young age, maybe 15. And I carried that over to when I went to Ryerson doing a hospitality and business management. And I wrote a business plan that was kind of combining the pita making and Subway sandwiches and the bagel craze at the time. So it was, let's make a variety of pita breads that have different flavors, serving really healthy sandwiches. And that was for the store. And that's how it started.
And so
the business plan started, and my father asked me if I want to go in business together, and I owed $25,000 to OSAP. We were not wealthy at all. Our father and mother were not either. And they were willing to put in their only $50,000 at age 60 and start a business with a very inexperienced young guy. So
when he asked you to, because usually it's the other way around. Kids go to the parents and ask them for money. When he asked you to go into business, did you have the confidence to do that? Like, how did that feel?
I wrote the business plan, and I was talking about it. I didn't think to ask him, just because I didn't think they have money. I knew they didn't. This literally was their only $50,000 for their retirement, which wouldn't last long. And
but when you
I didn't think about it. I didn't think. I was making pita for fun. Yeah. I wrote the plan for fun, just because I wanted to see how the concept would be. And let's do, what can I do now? I can write the business plan. I can make the pita. I can figure out that, and then we'll see what happens.
Right.
And then my father kind of said, "Hey, do you want to do it together?" And I was, of course. And he was an insurance broker.
Okay.
And he's very talented and very optimistic. And those were things that definitely we needed.
So if he hadn't asked you, do you think you would have tried it through other means, or
that's a very good question.
Yeah.
So I knew I wanted to go into food, which God knows why, but I went to work at Canada's Wonderland because I knew I wanted to go into food and to meet people and to get experience. So fairly quickly, I became an area manager in the park, overlooking the restaurants and the food facilities. And who knows, maybe I would have gone into chain stores or God knows what. But
you
no,
didn't.
my father, the last year, but I didn't. Yeah, it was fun. It were really good people, and it was really, really good experience before jumping in myself.
Yes.
I mean, I washed dishes, and I was a deli. I managed the deli at night, so I got some experience, but very, very small anecdotal scale.
Right. So, and then now there's Parallel Brothers. So just if you can give us a quick background on, because
yes,
you did it once, and I thought you promised yourself you wouldn't do it again, and then you decided to do it again. So what prompted Parallel Brothers, and of course, bringing your other brothers, Guy and Aaron, into it as well? So it's very much a family affair.
Definitely. And it wasn't necessarily me bringing them into it. It was kind of a very collaborative experience. And I told my ex-wife to shoot me in the head next time we open a restaurant. And thankfully she didn't. And but I saw this big stone mill in a market in Jerusalem that milled sesame seed in front of your eyes, and it was mesmerizing. I recorded it, and it was on my phone, and I'm like, wouldn't that be cool if we have that in Toronto? And I showed it to my brothers, and they're, yeah, well, this would be really cool. And then kind of our third brother, who was an artist in Berlin for the longest time, came back to Canada with his family, and we just kind of sitting together and talking, and said the idea came up. Why don't we make a brand, a sesame butter brand, and have a restaurant component to it that will introduce sesame butter to Canadians, because they're, all they know right now is the white kind of watery dressing that goes on falafels and shawarmas, but it's so much more diverse, and there's so much more to do with it. So we all got excited. Our youngest brother, who's 2.5 years younger than I am, said, yeah, I'd love to do it. And we're okay, so figure it out. We found a location at Geary, which was really awesome, is awesome. Beautiful industrial 2,700 square foot building next to Portuguese garages and a gym and a Portuguese bakery, and just beautiful. I really love that street. And things started there.
Well, and Geary, what a Geary is today, Geary was probably not 3 years ago. So did you have the insight that it was going to change into something more?
I don't know if I had the insight that Geary will become as popular. I mean, it had the Blood Brothers, which are an awesome brewery. Yeah. Leo from Familia Baldassare was there just starting. He was just initial. He didn't have the name he has today yet. And then we came. So I think that kind of lifted, the three of us lifted the street. And I mean, today they're just, thankfully not that many new places. So it still has its uniqueness to it. And so I didn't think the street would become something. I thought it would have to be a destination. So it's not as if people are walking outside and they walk in just because they see a cool place. They'll need to know about it. And thankfully we did a good job with the food, and the restaurant became really busy quickly. I didn't want it to become that busy that fast. I wanted to focus more on the brand and the sesame butter and developing products, and that being kind of a manufactory. So making products and then getting them all around the neighborhood and all. But I mean, the restaurant really killed it. So we're fortunate about that. Yeah. And that now these days we're focusing now more on the wholesale element and manufacturing really, really good products that have sesame seed or sesame butter in them.
Right. Okay. So in under 10 words, what was the best advice that you received and that you've also given?
So I'd say I kind of had two answers, so I don't follow rules or instructions that well. One was I was washing the window outside was washing the window outside that store 20 some odd years ago.
Which was then Pita Break. You're talking about
which was Pita Break,
okay.
Yes. And we were contemplating, are we going to go? We had a restaurant that was fairly busy at the time, actually really busy, but we didn't charge enough money. So it wasn't that profitable. So we were working really hard. People thought we were doing great, but we were doing meh. And we're, what's next? Do we open another store? Do we go into catering, or do we start wholesaling our products? And I didn't know, I honestly didn't know. And this customer of ours, Jonathan, who I really evaluated, really smart guy, was standing next to me as I washing the window. And he's, Alon, and I shared my, my kind of, not frustration, but questioning. And he's, Alon, go into wholesale. It's much harder to get in there, but once you're in, it's more stable. And that was the reason we went in. And I know catering is just such a hard job, and it really shortened my life. And another restaurant would be also, it's fairly, really hard. I mean, wholesale business is also really hard. So I don't know if there was the right answer, but that's what I took. Today, what I would tell people is grow.
And I'm just gonna jump in, because you deal a lot with entrepreneurs, you mentor entrepreneurs, you've worked with organizations that help entrepreneurs. Yes. So yes, it's very much your wheelhouse, that sort of space and landscape, the startups.
Yeah, I got so much help from random people at the beginning that I really want to share. If words that I say can help people in a decision or skip a learning, kind of a steep learning curve, makes me happy. And so yes, there's Youth Employment Services, Biz Start program that I've been involved in for a while. And we have every year, we give a tour to the students there, or the young entrepreneurs, and they all have a business plan and they're launching a business. And honestly, I got so many good friends out of that plan, out of that program, both people who volunteer and both who work and who were taking the course. So I think I benefited more than I put in, definitely.
And so what advice would you give them? I sort of took you off track there, but yes, what advice do you give these young entrepreneurs, today, or older entrepreneurs?
I would give anyone in business is to have a strong brand, invest in your brand, and then let the world know what you're doing. I mean, not the secrets, not the trade secrets, but it's the people that you attract and the people that you get enthusiastic about your brand will do a lot of work for you. And the strength of community is, I didn't know how strong it would be, how strong it is. I was very solo. I have to do it myself. I have to succeed myself. And every time I hired someone or brought someone in who took over a job and I kind of moved up, it was the best thing I've ever done. So it's letting go a little, and also having this community where you communicate with and send out the messages, and let the universe help you a little. You don't have to carry everything yourself.
Right. So when you say focus on the brand, can you just explain that a little to someone who's listening? That's like brand, like that seems like it's like this big word, but what does it actually, what does it actually mean? How do you focus on the brand? I mean, when you open Pita Break many, because I think it's going to be it's 25 years or something, like it's gotta be.
Yes. 25 years.
Around there. There was no social media. We didn't have cell phones the way we do today. So it's a different landscape now. But when you say brand, to those that are starting out that may not have a budget for focusing that heavily on the brand, can you just give us in like a quick snapshot?
So basically the brand is knowing what your business is, and then all the realms around it communicate that. So you need to communicate in a certain way, the words you use, the graphics you use, everything you do with the business communicates something. And the brand, you need to sit and have a brand proposition, know what your company or product or service stand for, and then make sure that all the communications at every level, even how you dress, even how you present yourself, how your team represent themselves, how they carry themselves, what they say, your graphics, your homepage, everything needs to work together. And it's so important, just because recipes can be copied, services can be copied, and you can have two companies doing the exact same thing, but the company that communicates better with the consumer, and there's a kind of an alignment between the promise and what they get. So the customer expectation, if they get there and they get what they thought they'd get, fantastic. If they get there and they get a little more than what they thought they get, even better. And it has to be done with full awareness. And I think that's what I would recommend any younger entrepreneurs, that to focus on that, is how they communicate, what they communicate, and what is the message they want to be known for and as.
Okay. And so what is your source of inspiration? What or who or where does that come from?
I don't know. That's I know we have this question in there, and I love doing. I love seeing people being happy. I love pleasing people, and I also like enjoying myself. I like the odd holiday here and there, and I like going to restaurants and meeting people, and all that inspires me. So whatever can allow me have that lifestyle is kind of my inspiration. I don't necessarily have a specific person as my inspiration, but it's more of the lifestyle I want is inspiring me.
Right. Are there companies, though, just because I've known you for a little while now, and when you would come back from a holiday, you would generally bring an idea with you. There would be something you saw, something, whether you were in a market, whether you ate in a restaurant, and you'd want to bring that and breathe your own life into it.
Oh man, yeah. So I think when traveling, it allows you to break from the routine and the stresses of the day to day, and that's I think crucial for development. And then it's almost like you walk around and you open up like a 3D kind of flower, and you're looking not only with your eyes, you're sensing, you're feeling, and you're looking, or you're not even looking, you just notice things, and then you kind of mark them, and you either buy them or take a photo of them, and then keep them in your memory bank. And then as you daydream and walk down the street, or as I daydream and walk down the street, those components kind of start attaching to each other, and then they come out as ideas, and then I'll write them down and see, when I get back, I would play around with stuff like that.
Right.
But it could be a market, it could be, tartine bread in San Francisco. What an amazing place. And their old place was at the corner of the street there, and lineup standing of people standing along the stores waiting to get in. Wow. Like I wasn't used to those lineups here in Toronto at the time. And now they opened a new place, which is also gorgeous. There are a few brands, Blue Bottle, which was like amazing coffee and minimalistic graphics, and just a beautiful product also. Anything. And I mean, a beach in Maui could be inspiring also, and bring all those thoughts together eventually.
Yeah.
And also the street in Toronto. I mean, I love Toronto parks. I love walking in the city and checking out new places. And they all kind of press different buttons within my mind, and see, you never know what comes out of it. And a lot of time, nothing comes out of it too.
Well, there's always something. It just maybe not percolate into anything in particular, but it all creates, what it is that you are and how you decide to share that, whether it's through food or any source of inspiration. So what would you consider to be your biggest career achievement?
I don't think about our business like that, but when you have guests that come and visit the bakery, you know how you see things through their eyes, and it's always it blows my mind. I had Dave Matacchioni after our interview, and I said, hey, come to the bakery. Like for a long time he wanted to see it, and he's walking around looking at everything and the machinery and that, and he was, Alon, this is outstanding. And just seeing the place through a new pair of eyes reminds me of what we've achieved. So I think that's bloody unbelievable. And but in the day-to-day, I don't notice that at all. I always see what's not okay and what we need to do and what's to be achieved.
Right. And
yeah, and even parallel like that, I'm really proud of what we did there. That because people who come in, such a unique space. And our brother Aharon, who runs it, and he's also an artist, as I said, and he created. It's a lot of it, if not all of it, is him, the vibe and the feel. And he did such a good job, and people just love coming there. He said, I don't feel like I'm in Toronto. I feel like I'm somewhere else. And it's so unique. And I agree with it. I go there several times a week, and I love that space and the feel and what we give people and the people that work there with us. It's unique.
Yeah. And Parallel is always evolving. Every time I go there, there's something different. Something's moved, something's changed, something's been added or taken away. So there's this element of this newness all the time. It's kind of a fluid transformation into something else. So, and I would assume that that's the artistic side of Aharon that is constantly looking to
and
renew.
Also the business element. Yeah. Like there's always, we're looking to what can we do now? What's interesting? What's tasty? What else can we do with sesame butter? And then it will move things around. And we had COVID, so we have nobody inside. Now it's almost a warehouse plus a production line or a manufacturing space, because we're making a lot of stuff out of there.
Right. And, going back to Ozery, I remember the times where Yes would visit Youth Employment Services. A lot of young entrepreneurs that are just starting out, and for them to see where something could lead to, I just remember them being wide-eyed and just being wow, this is really possible. And that's huge. That's huge because, we don't know how we go on to affect others. So
no, Liza, I still don't know either, but I almost always end that tour of the bakery with, what, guys, and they're all at the beginning, they're anywhere between 18 and 29, and they're all written a business plan, launching a very young business, and sometimes not from the backgrounds that have all the resources for them to succeed. That's why it exists. And I told them, every time I tell them, guys and girls and ladies, I never thought we'd achieve what we achieved. And I was an average student and didn't excel in anything really. And I never expected that we'd get this far with what you see here. So, but what I did know is what I love to do, and I love to create, and I just give me that ability to create and that. And I think also for me, the winning combination was my brother and I, and my father and I initially, but then my brother and I, where we complemented each other. And because I by myself, I'm not that structured, and all the big lines and systems are not my forte. And I think that's what kind of, you need luck also. It's not always, a lot of times we're just an element within the success.
Right. So success is success, and that's wonderful. We all love hearing those stories, but the curious ones are the failures. What would you consider one of the biggest failures? Because I think it's important to include that it's not all cupcakes and sprinkles.
No. Actually, what's funny? I have an uncle who owns a day camp, which you may happen to know. He may be a relative of two of us. And I
have no idea what you're talking about.
More proof. And he says like he every day is worried his business won't exist the next day or the next week. And I was the same, and I am the same. I don't take it for granted. I honestly, now that I'm in sabbatical, it's a little different. But when I worked, I was always worried about what could happen. And I don't love that feeling, but it existed. And it was definitely, I think people are divided into two groups. One group is those who freeze when they're facing adversity, and the others kind of, okay, let's go and see what we can do, and just do things. And my brother and I definitely belong to the second group, is when there's adversity or even perceived adversity. Usually there was real adversity. It's what can we do, and go and do it, and go plant more seeds and more seeds for new beginnings, and go become more efficient, etc., etc. And then, once all is done, there were threats. Some happened, some didn't, and some seeds grew to be successes, and some, and just kind of, you never know. But if you do enough things that are creative and move things forward, they'll work.
So, do you have an example that you can share that shows that failure turned, remained a failure, or failure turned into something that produced a seed that then produced something else?
We were once kicked out of a small chain, and when we were really early on, and
so it was a big deal. That was a big deal.
I thought it was the end.
Right.
I thought it was the end several times. I had so many. The one was one. Yeah, we were kicked out of a small chain, and that was big for us. And I thought, oh my God, we're done. Others will get rid of us too. And we just kept on plugging and plugging and plugging, and then eventually they came back. Also, their people wanted us back in. Can
you share why you were kicked out? Like, was there something
a competitor started making
a
similar product, and they had better coverage, and they were bigger, way bigger than us, and all that. The same thing happened in the US. We were ready to go into the US with this really new and innovative one bun, and about couple of months before we're ready to launch it, even though we invested in a whole new factory, and took millions of dollars in loans, we found out that this product is in the US, and it's new, and and by a much bigger bakery. And oh my God, that was also, I thought we lost everything, and we almost did. But, you bounce back. It kind of pushed us to reevaluate who we are, and look at our, basically, we kind of doubled down on, we're all natural, we're not using chemicals, we're not a large company, we're a smaller niche company, but we make really, really good products.
So differentiating yourself.
Yeah, and consumers notice the difference. So yes, we're not that multi whatever company, but we're a niche of a niche within bread, and so it's already challenging as it is. And bread is such a challenge to sell, because a lot of people kind of turned away from it, and we're fighting an uphill battle there. So you need to be authentic and have a good brand and a good communication with consumers, and good, you need to meet your promises and expectations. So all that and more.
All that and more. So do you actually sleep at night? Before I go into my next question.
Yeah, there's always a reason not to sleep. So
right. So how do you handle stress, particularly when it's not going well? Like, is there an activity you do? How do you do?
So we're in COVID now, and unfortunately swimming pools were shut down. So I used to swim 3 or 4 times a week, and it was magical. I'd enter the pool on one end as I started, and I was so bad in swimming initially. I was like, I swim 10 minutes and I was dead. But with time and practice, I got to maybe 40, 50 minutes. And that was perfect.
As with anything, it's practice.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And sticking to it. How many times I didn't want to go to the pool? How many times? Every other time I didn't want to go to the pool.
I know.
Because you're like, it's minus 20 degrees outside, minus 10, 0, 10, whatever. Yeah. And it's, I don't want to go. But my body was automatic. I kind of took myself out of the decision making and let my body routine take me there.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly I find myself in my bathing suit getting into the water, and I didn't want to get into the water because it's colder and all that. But within 5 to 10 minutes, when you get into the zone and then you go in, this was countless times where I entered with both personal issues and business issues. And within 10, 15 minutes, everything disappeared.
Water has a way of doing that.
Of the swimming and the stroking, and just I'm going through the water. I didn't fight the thoughts. I let them. They were
yes. Right. No, I can relate.
I like monotony. So
I can relate, just in the sense that I have a morning routine where I get up and I do my my stretches, some meditation, some breath work. But I'm lying in bed thinking of how I can get out of it. What can I do to get in my own head? And the only person.
So you want to stay in bed? That's the thing.
It's not that I want to stay in bed. I want to get up. I want to do stuff, but I'm trying to figure out how do I get out of doing, which I think, Lisa, just get up and do it. Just, there's no, because it's only beneficial. It's really only beneficial. So, and I always wonder why do I do that? Like, why do people do that? So I'm slightly comforted in knowing that it's not just me. And that,
but to me, it's you do it even if it's not beneficial. Like, it's actually, if it's not beneficial, I developed the skill to go through shit. And even if it's not nice and all that, I have to do it. I'll have to do it, and I'll do it. Go through it. And then there are patterns, that you go through. And now it's cycling. So in the winter, I did ice skating. So I'd ice skate like a maniac, and now I cycle and walk. So there's always the element of movement.
Right. So back to business
for you, it's more meditative and inward, right?
Yes. Inward.
I think I'd go crazy if I did that. Yeah.
No, I need to like the stilling of the mind never used to make sense to me. Now it is very clear to me the importance of that just before the day begins and before things start to inundate. So let's just 2 more questions before we move to personal. Who's your favorite competitor? And I know you've mentioned a couple, but do you have any in Toronto that you've mentioned Tartine in San Francisco, but let's stick to Toronto. And
I like Blackbird. They make really good breads, really good breads. Stone Mill make good breads. Who else? I should be prepared for these questions, but I love David's sourdough bread. They're outstanding. Matacchionis, outstanding. There's a new bakery called Lev. Yoni Camille, he used to be the baker at Blackbird, and he's making now rye breads, which are amazing.
Okay.
So
that's a pretty good
love the pizzas at Bar Neon. They make actually good sourdough buns too. So yes.
All around good work. So where do you see now, apart from COVID, because that I know has changed the landscape for a lot of businesses, if not all businesses, where do you see the business, Ozery? We'll start with Ozery. Where do you see Ozery in 5 years? Because although you're on a sabbatical, you're still involved and you're still part of that vision. So
yeah. So Ozery now has we made our Super Seed Crunch, which is a keto product. So it's a no wheat product. I love wheat, by the way. I just love wheat. It does me good. And but this Super Seed, I think, has a lot of potential in going into really having healthy snacks around there.
Yeah.
Based on seeds and a mix of seeds and really innovative products in there. It always needs to be tasty for me. It can't be like I will not vote for the healthy, but
cardboard-esque.
Have all the right ingredients there, but you don't get that satisfaction of I'm feeling a little better now. And it's not even the matter of the carbs; it's just that love kind of element that we need.
Yeah.
And so I think it has that. So I think there's huge potential there. I don't want us to be like a multinational in any way. I don't think we ever will. So what's pushing is not necessarily to be bigger, but definitely to have a good relationship with our communities. We have a really good program, B Corp, which is very environmental and people oriented. I'm really proud about that. I want our team members to make more money. I'd like to have better programs for them. So that's a goal that both my brother and I share. And be better employers all around. So that's definitely a goal.
Wonderful. And what about Parallel? Where do you see Parallel? Because there's the manufacturing side, there's the restaurant side. So it's so the restaurant, I don't want to grow. I want it to be the size that it is and stay on Geary, and that's it. We don't want any more restaurants, but we love this one. This one is so special. The rest is to sell our sesame butters and sesame butter based products across North America, and teach Canadians and kind of introduce sesame butter to Canadians. It is so good. Like sometimes at night when I'm home and I'm lazy and I make a salad, but a salad isn't enough. And sometimes I have a pizza and a salad or something. But what you can do is just take a salad, a really good salad, throw in some tuna in there, and then and crunchy carrots,
and red onion and good vinaigrette on there. And it doesn't have to be complicated. You can cut an egg in half, have that there, and then drizzle on it the sesame butter, but the kind of the original one, the one we sell. And the beauty of the sesame butter, it just gives it this nuttiness, and it mixes up with the vinaigrette, and it's filling and it's healthy, and you feel so good after you eat it, and you're not hungry.
Well, and the creamy element
creaminess
is so satisfying.
Yeah.
Creamy is satisfying. Yeah.
Yes, and
yeah,
and then the humera seeds that we use, they're not bitter, so we source these seeds out of a certain area in Ethiopia, which most tahinis don't have, because sometimes they're price based,
right?
And it just gives you that lovely flavor to it, and yeah.
All right, so we'll move to personal. We'll just kind of skim through them because I'm conscious of time as well. But where were you born?
Yes.
This is an interesting question.
I was born, I know nobody knows this because they always guess. First of all, people always guess that I'm either French by the accent, and because I don't have a heavy Israeli accent, or they think of an English speaking country that they don't know. And for some reason, Irish comes up sometimes. I don't know why.
Really?
Maybe, yeah, no, I don't know. Maybe they just don't know. But so I was born in Toronto at Women's College Hospital. My mother was a young British nurse who came to Toronto with a bunch of her nurse friends on the Queen Mary, and looking for work and fun in Toronto. And our father is a Yemenite, Jewish Yemenite, I guess, background, who escaped Orthodox background, and he didn't connect with religion at all. And they met in Toronto, so two different faiths, and they had 3 kids here, and then they went back to Israel when I was 3, and we came back here at 16, and we came, and and I ended up here at 21, and then that's when I went to Ryerson. So long answer for a short question.
So the accent, or the slight something that people can't detect, is the moving to Israel when you were 3.
Yeah, and having a British mother, and having the British influence. I mean, we were in England often, almost every summer.
Right.
So it's a Canadian, English, Israeli mixture.
Yeah. And you'll notice as the audience listens that there is the odd British word that sneaks in. And you'll notice it when it actually happens. So
it's funny. When we came to Canada when I was 16, I couldn't say tomato, because it was tomato. Like, why are you ruining this name? It's tomato, and all of you are using tomato. And today it's a mishmash of accents, and even Hebrew and English are mishmashed together. I'll say a sentence in English, but it will actually be translated from Hebrew, and vice versa. I'll speak Hebrew and I'll translate from English. So it's kind of a mess. It's a clusterfuck.
When you're in England and you're with your cousins, do you start to speak more English, like more English accent? Do you take that
Liza,
on, or is it just in a mocking way?
I'm going to top that. So obviously I mock my cousins because they have a very upper class British accent. They live in Brighton, and it's fun to do that. But there are people who, so even if I'll sit in a Uber and take a ride somewhere, and I start talking to, let's say, the Indian driver, my accent will get Indian by the end of the drive.
Oh no, you're one of those.
I am, and it's done unintentionally. When I speak to an Ethiopian lady who works at the bakery, my English becomes Ethiopian accent very quickly. So it's not done on purpose. I really try not to do that, because it may seem as if I'm mocking them, and it really isn't. It's just, I don't know. I just try to, I
think there have been scientific studies on that.
Yeah.
Because my brother has
very talented, smart people do that.
That's what happens. My brother has a friend who would do that. My dad has a very thick Italian accent. And this friend of my brother's, who's very Canadian, when he's around him, within a few hours, he's starting to speak this kind of sort of like broken English Italian. We're like, what are you doing? But he just takes it on. And I think it actually has been studied that people actually do that. So there you go. Maybe you could be part of a study.
I have a question though. Your accent, where would you pin your accent as? Do you think you have an accent?
No.
So I think you have like the Italian kind of a vibe to your English, but it could be my imagination just because I know you.
Yeah. I think
Were you
the
told that,
Italian
or?
sometimes comes out. Sometimes the
I mean,
Italian
if
will
I
come
tie
out,
your
but
hands and don't let and you talk, it would be a problem, right?
it would be it would be a problem. I'm trying to keep them folded in my lap like I was taught in school, but it's not easy. So what traits did you inherit from your parents?
They were opposites and like complete opposites. I was more like my mother when I was younger. She was more introverted and very British, very. And but she was fighting it also because she ended up marrying a brown Jewish guy. So I could imagine seeing her family getting the news the first day and what a kerfuffle that may have caused. They, by the way, they were all great with us and there were no issues, but you know, they came from a very white village in upper class England in
And back
Kent. So
then, it would have been more
back
like
then, yeah,
nowadays, particularly in Toronto. I think it's it's not
yeah,
a
here it's
big
already
deal.
nothing. But
But back then, in those days, yeah, you didn't. That was
yeah,
probably
yeah.
very unusual.
To their credit, they were honestly, our English family is amazing and we're very
Yeah,
close. So
amazing.
I was more like my mother, and as time progressed, our father is very, he loves people, he loves food, he loves life. He is, yeah, just a unique person. And I'm becoming more like him, not in the uniqueness, but more in the love for life and love for food and for people, you know, my own style, but definitely less introverted.
Right. And what key lessons did you learn from them?
So I think my father's positivity, he's
Mm.
like the most positive person there is. I was more negative to start with, but realistic. So it actually kind of helped me. I got that. I think our mother, she was very artistic. She painted, and I got that element, and I think it helps with creating and with feeling energy and
Mm.
kind of having that sixth sense for things. So I think I got that from her.
Okay. And as a teenager, what was the dumbest thing you ever did as a teenager?
I was such a boring kid. It's unbelievable. It was
Okay, so in your adult life, because I do have slosh adult.
the adult life I can't made up for the teen years. I was ridiculous as a teenager. I'm embarrassed to say. I have, yeah.
No,
But
no good
I
stories.
did silly things. You know what? The silliest thing I remember during my kind of coming out process. So 7 years ago, 8 years ago. So 8 years ago, I came out to my wife and 3 kids. So that wasn't a small thing, as you can imagine. And I'd say 7 or 8 years preceded to that, there was from the moment I knew that I was inauthentic with myself at first, because I knew it inside, I didn't, I didn't is kind of weird to describe how those things happen. And then 7 years where there was that struggle, and then a lot of it, I guess, I acted it out with heavy drinking and doing silly things. But I remember we got trashed once, and I'm mid-30s. And I don't know, so drunk, and the subway doors opened, and I was on the subway and then I threw up out of those doors, and then they closed, and then I've thrown up at a couple stops, and I'm embarrassed to say that happened, but that happened. And yeah, does that answer your question? Is
that
a good
answers
example?
my question. And yes, you're definitely making up for it in adult life then.
I did, yeah. Now I'm calming down again. I think as everything is settling.
And
The dust is settling.
do you think that sort of acting out, whatever anyone wants to call it, is attributed to the inauthentic living? Or
Definitely.
okay,
Mine
so it's
was.
tied, it's linked.
Mine was, I was so suppressing everything. Good old Victorian kind of education, which I kind of skipped down a generation to me. And I was, I guess, really received it with open arms to just be good. What do other people think? Do what you're expected. and that kind of guided me as a kid and as a teenager, and wasn't a great childhood. I mean, it was a good childhood, but not. I put on myself that those restrictions.
Did you know you were putting those restrictions on?
No.
Okay,
So it was my, I guess,
within
it was in my characteristic or something to please and stuff like that.
Right.
And it just happened. And then as time progressed, that kind of, I think the authentic self began to rise. And then when that happened, that's when shit happens. That's when alcohol is used. A lot of alcohol is used, and silly behavior emerges. So yeah, I took what was a landmark that was really a good course for me and kind of helped me with authenticity. I'm not connected to them in any way, but that course helped me a lot.
So when you took that course, because I've taken Landmark as well, and I'm not affiliated with them in any way, but I do strongly recommend it to people because it does have.
So do I, yeah.
Yeah, it does have an impact. It does leave an impression. And whether or not you do anything immediately, it triggers something in the back of your mind that is always sort of fluttering there. So
I think it does, though, for people that are ready. I think that people that are not ready, it won't. And I was ready, I guess. I think for after age 30, between age 30 and age 50, people, everything, that trajectory that you were on or in begins to lose energy. And then you start to deal with, okay, who am I? And then realizing life doesn't continue forever. And at 40, you're at who knows, half of your life. And what you've achieved. And then what else is, so all these questions come by our minds and some earlier, some later, but that, I think that kind of is accelerates that whole process for some it will cause to take action and come out. So I literally came out. I was, I didn't acknowledge me being gay, but I loved my wife. It wasn't black and white at all, and
right.
I had really good relationship with her and have an amazing relationship with her today. But those inauthenticities started kind of appearing and then disrupting, and then they disrupted our relationship. Oddly enough, and I haven't been ever with a guy until then, so I didn't know. For me, it was all in the head, and it hasn't been a physical thing, so you don't know. At least that's how I saw it. So yeah, and then it moved on.
Okay, so when you were younger, what did you want to be when you grow up? What was in that young mind?
I loved hotels. I loved the kind of the.
Well, you still
I think
do.
That's why I do love hotels as a guest.
Yes.
but then I just loved that because we grew up in Israel, and it was not a first world country. Now it is, but then it was kind of a second world country. And that walking into the lobby was like you're going to another country, and you had people from another country, and smells and perfumes, and people were dressed differently, and the energy was different, and I was drawn to that very much. So I maybe that's what I wanted to do, and I really like serving people. I like providing for people. I like taking care of people. I really like that element. So yes.
Yeah. Okay. And your guilty pleasure? I suspect you have many.
But... I do, yes. And they're all opposing to one another. So one is have a day alone and be alone completely and go on walks and look at the trees and contemplate and listen to music. I need those. And I need wild nights at a restaurant and a bar and music and dancing and all that. I need that too. So I find balance between the two. I love entertaining people. Like Parallel gives me the opportunity to entertain like my friends and colleagues and associates. It's just, we have so much fun there. I mean, this year we kind of missed that, but I think we're going to have a fuck COVID party on Geary the moment
Street
we can.
Party?
So yeah, so my goal is for it to spill over, and I'll talk to other partners on Geary and try and have a big party where we block the street and just enjoy life and get back to how we should be. because I really miss that connection with people. So
yes,
I'm guessing we're now in end of April 2021. I would love to do that maybe by fall. So the weather will still be good and people will be allowed and vaccinated and whatnot to do that. So I can't wait for that.
yes. I think you'll have a lot of people jumping on board.
Yes.
I think this has affected people not more than they think, because I think people are thinking about it, but there's different aspects that don't necessarily get the time to be reflected upon until, you're in a situation where you're enjoying things again.
It goes against human nature. We need each other. I need people. Even though I like to say I don't need people, I need people.
Yeah, for sure.
And everyone does. Even we need people in order not to like them.
Yes. Yes, of course. So if you could instantly become an expert in something, what would it be?
Who was I talking? I was talking to my daughter today, and I was like, oh, I wish I could sing. I really wish I could sing well. You hear our dog, so Maya's dog in the background.
Right.
Yeah. So I wish
like
I could
a rock
sing
star singer or like.
No, it doesn't matter. Just be able to carry a tune well.
So kill those karaoke nights then.
Kill them.
Okay.
I mean, being on stage in front of thousands of people that adore you isn't bad, but
you'll take a karaoke night too. Singing in the shower.
That's already done. Yes.
Okay, so we'll move to city. We'll move to the city related questions. What is your favorite neighborhood?
So I lived across the city. I lived everywhere in the city, and I truly love many elements. So again, I'm not going to follow your instructions, but I love the West End. I lived on DuPont near Lansdowne. So just I love that vibe. And our parallel is at Geary, so it's also kind of northwest end, which is so unique and wonderful. I like the people. I like kind of the laid back kind of atmosphere, really good coffee, good food. And then I'm now in Regent Park, which I truly love. I just like the mix of people, the ethnicities, the kids running around, and just the vibe and energy is not all of the same. I don't like all of the same.
Yeah.
So there are some neighborhoods I don't like as much. I think it's the ones that everybody fits the same kind of energy. And it's not even an ethnicity thing. Like when I lived in the suburbs, I really didn't like them because it doesn't even, you'll have different ethnicities, but they all feel and communicate the same way. Yeah. It's all the same socioeconomic level. And obviously they're not, but mostly are. And I don't connect with that. I need that mix.
Right. And your favorite park?
These days, my favorite park is probably in Cabbagetown. So it's the Riverdale West. So I walk by there every day, but there are so many parks I love in the city. I like Queen's Park. It's really nice. When I cycle through it, I sit there a lot. Even the dog park down on, the thing with a dog water fountain. It's so
Wellington
cool.
Front and like near the Flatiron Building.
You live not far from there. Yes.
Yeah.
So there are many. I just love parks. Which park do you like, by the way, in the city the most, Liza?
Well, I haven't really focused a lot on parks in my day. But there is the one, and I can't even remember the name, at Harvard and Grace.
Oh, yes.
Big Tree, maybe it's Big Tree.
I don't know.
Yeah. And it's just, it kind of dips down a bit. So that tends to be where, if I'm going to meet a friend that tends to be where we go. And I like it because it's kind of, I don't know, you feel like you're sort of like cradled almost.
Yeah.
And it's got big trees, and I used to live on Grace Street many moons ago. And so that neighborhood and that Little Italy area, which is, far more diverse now than Little Italy, but it's such a nice neighborhood, and it's just, it's got the old mature trees. And so I tend to kind of get pulled towards that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'll add, because I almost forgot. I can't believe I almost forgot it, but Kensington Market. So
I was thinking,
Kensington
how is he
Market,
not saying Kensington?
how didn't I say that? So that's it's Kensington I love so much. But I always think I want to live there, but I don't want to live there. So I want it to not change. And I want to be at least, I don't know, 15-minute bike ride from it or less. And which I am. I'm just exactly 15 minutes. But the park there is the best. It's the kind of little like, dirty and not. And you have all these people doing yoga on the grass. And, you know, when pot was illegal, you have all these people selling it on the street. And it's still such a cool place. So I love going there and getting food and sitting in the park. I love the coffee shop there and the Big Fat Burrito and Ideal and a bunch of places. Like, it's such a wonderful park to sit and look at people.
So do you have a favorite restaurant? Because I would imagine that's challenging, but give me like one of your top three.
I don't want to do that either. I know some guests say that just because there's so many good ones. And like, I'll give you an example. So I really love Parallel. I honestly, I'm not tired of it. But I love House on Parliament. So this is the restaurant bar located on Parliament Street. It's my go-to. I'm there once a week at least when it's open or has a patio. I love sitting and having the chicken sandwich with buttermilk coating and good German beer. It's so good. But there's so many restaurants in the city that are just fantastic. And I don't know. Like, I can't say.
Can't even. Okay, what about your favorite coffee shop? Because I know you've got favorite coffee shops.
So, I do have favorite coffee shops that I'm willing to say. So, I love jet fuel because, and it's also the human element and the vibe element. So it varies. I look at three things. One's the coffee, two is the vibe, and three are the people, like the baristas. So yeah, I really I love jet fuel. I think Sam James does an amazing job. I think that I do Sumac Espresso because they're in my neighborhood and I go there and have great people. Who else? Oh my God.
The Common. You like the Common?
The Common. You see, I forgot Kensington. The Common is like my synagogue on Saturday.
I was waiting for it. You'll even wait in line.
Yes. That's the only line. Yes. So Saturday, I meet my friend there and we now sit on the church stairs across the street. But when we were allowed to be there inside, you just go and there's these wooden tables and there's only one barista and there's always a lineup. And I think, I don't know how we stand for it, but the owner, Anna, or the co-owner, Anna, she's amazing. And I don't see her as much there. Just wonderful place to sit and spend an hour Saturday morning and just kind of chill and read a paper and talk to friends and just be. I really love that vibe. Yeah. But again, the Common, it's probably the top one.
Okay. And what's your preferred method of transportation in the city?
Ice skating. No, I'm joking. So I think cycling when weather permits. So I don't know, it's 4 degrees Celsius up and then back down, and I'll ride my bike then. I walk a lot. I enjoy that.
Okay. And I think
sometimes the car, of course, but I'd rather not.
I think our listeners are going to get to know the answer to this question, but I am going to give you the opportunity to answer it so that you actually have time. What do you feel is the biggest missed opportunity for the city?
Kensington Market.
False.
No, what I honestly, if there's one thing I would love that would come out of this is to create a bridge to the island, and preferably two. That is good for pedestrians, not for cars. That the island is such a, in my opinion, a missed opportunity, even though thousands of people go there. But the costs associated with taking that fucking ferry and those taxis and all, and as cute as they are, I can afford them. But a family of 5 cannot. A family of 5, it would be $10 a piece, $50 just to go to a free piece of land that gives you this tremendous feeling. And I think we should have a bridge from wherever. It could be from the Leslie Spit. It could be from by the airport there. I don't know. And allow that flow of cyclists, of rollerbladers, of walkers to go through and connect. I think only people who really want to go will do it. I mean, it will be a schlep to go over it. It's not that close.
No, and you'll always have the people that will just take the ferry and keep it simple. Yeah, you'll still have
go
that.
The families, and yes.
Yeah.
But I don't want it to be the only means of transportation. And I don't know if you know that, but I'd say, wow, was it 100 years ago that actually the island wasn't an island, it was a peninsula, and it was connected to the land by the eastern side, and some storm kind of took that away. Right. And I guess maybe the water levels increased a little, but it wasn't always an island. And I think it's just it's like our central park, and it should be treated that way. It should be treated as a park for everyone.
Accessible,
and a park for everyone doesn't mean you have to pay $50 for your family to go there and come back.
Right. Okay. And what do you think is one of the bureaucratic nightmares for the city?
One. No, there's so many, and I think just City Hall needs to. City Hall needs to remember that it's there for the people, and the people that make the city move forward are the entrepreneurs. And I understand the importance of City Hall to create rules and regulations so people don't run amok and do whatever they want, and it's not the Wild West here. However, I would like us to have more of a European feel to our streets, where people eat and drink more on the streets, where restaurants can have more patios. This Cafe TO thing is great, but this season, again, they're giving a lot of restaurants that I know a lot of issues in opening their patios, and it just is beyond my understanding. Let's allow people to go on the street. Let's charge whatever you need for that usage, but don't make it prohibitive.
Right.
And let's bring people out. The summer is so short, and let's just be outside and enjoy each other. It's just so much more fun to go down the street and you see all these people sitting and enjoying themselves. I would love that to do. So I would love the city to just be more flexible and look seriously at the process and not be so bureaucratic. So yeah.
Right. Evolve with what people want, because really the people can govern themselves. We don't need
it's like the drinking in parks. Give me a break. Like if somebody is acting up and is doing illegal things while they're intoxicated, well, the police can come and take care of them.
Yes.
If they're sitting with their boyfriend, girlfriend, family, whatever, having a couple beers and just laughing and talking, it's none of the police's business to come and police people sitting down in parks and having a good time. It isn't.
Yeah.
So I would just like the City Hall to remember that it's there for us and not the other way around.
Yeah,
absolutely. The City Hall and bureaucrats are here for the people. They work for us.
Well, the entire government should have that mindset that they work for the people. And when they legalized marijuana, there was such a kerfuffle. They thought everyone was going to be high in the streets, unable to go to work. You can't drive. It's crazy. And no,
Lisa, you came to work every day when you were high.
Every single day on time. But it didn't.
Actually, our level of work increased.
It got more creative, didn't it? Okay, we'll move along. Which charity is close to your heart?
So yes, Youth Employment Services. I've had a relationship with them for the longest time, and I gave a lot of my time to them, and I really believe in them, and I really believe in helping young entrepreneurs, give them the support they need, because just it's so awesome. I love sick kids, so I just really, sick kids is close to my heart. We unfortunately have some experience with sick kids, so I support them. And I want also Regent Park. I support. I'm beginning to, when I'm here, to find out about a few organizations here, and I'd like to get involved with someone here.
Okay. All right. So we'll move to the quick fire. And I'm going to ask you the question, even though I know the answers.
You can answer most of these questions.
I can. But for our listeners.
Sure, you know, what is it? Bath or shower for me?
For you, I would say shower.
Okay.
Okay, see, now I have to ask the questions. Coffee or tea?
Well, coffee, hands down.
Even with your British background? You're choosing coffee.
Yes. I don't do tea, so no.
Okay. Dark or milk chocolate?
Yeah, dark.
Beer, wine, or whiskey?
Definitely beer, but whiskey is not far behind.
Okay. Breakfast, lunch, or dinner?
I would say either lunch or dinner.
Okay. Home cooked meal or takeout?
I don't know. Both.
If someone else is cooking, both. Is it home cooked meal or takeout?
I love both. Yeah, it's a good question. I can't answer that.
City or countryside?
Who made questions up? City.
Favorite season?
I like every season. I really enjoy every season.
That's the beauty of this country. And I've lived in places that don't have seasons, and that was the one thing I missed the most. Was the seasons.
People who love the sun, they wish it was summer all the time. I would kill myself if it was summer all the time. I don't like that.
Right.
But that kind of the transition between one and another is just great. And you get to enjoy every one of them. Like now we're in spring and you're looking at the budding flowers and the leaves coming out and all that.
Okay.
So
all right, it's quick fire, so I'm going to keep going.
Oh, sorry, yes.
Night out or stay at home?
Night out.
Morning person or night owl?
Again, both.
Okay. Bath or shower?
Bath, actually. I really enjoy a good bath.
Okay. When you enter the swimming pool, do you jump in or do you tiptoe slowly?
I used to tiptoe slowly. Now I jump in.
Cat or dog person?
Dog.
Books or Netflix or TV?
I would like to say books, but it is Netflix.
Okay. Phone calls or
attention
texts?
Span. Texts.
Texts. And music or podcasts?
Oddly, music.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for allowing us to get to know you a little more. And I'd say, is there anything else you want to say to people? But you're going to get a chance to say it with every interview. Yeah.
And I think that, like Liza, I'm really happy we're doing this together. And I'm excited about this whole series. I have committed, I think we have committed to 20 episodes. So, and then we'll reevaluate. But so far, just talking to these 6 individuals charges you with energy and just beautiful people that are doing stuff in the city and really know the city and are the city and their followers are the city. So I'm really excited about that. Yeah.
And it's nice, particularly at a time where connection and belonging is feeling a bit lost. It's just an extra way. Yes, it's online or virtual or however we want to say it. But it is an insight into a lot of these people's stories and what they're going through right now and what they've gone through in their life. And it pays homage to how interesting every individual is and how their stories make up who they are. And I don't think I would ever meet a non-interesting person if I were to ask them these questions. It just brings out the human side and the interesting side and just allows us to lean in a bit and get to know people. And the beauty of being able to share that with other people is extra special. So
I say that if you know their business and you're curious about their business, listen to the podcast because you'll get to know the person behind it.
Yeah.
And it would be so much better of a business because you know who's the person behind it.
Yeah, there's more. It's just special. It's special. So we hope you all enjoyed as much as we're enjoying doing it.
I hope you all enjoyed listening to me talking about me as much as I love talking about myself.
It felt like the first time alone.
Was that? God, he's such an asshole. I can't listen to him anymore. Very good. Thank you, Liza.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for questioning.
Okay.
The Upfront Toronto podcast.